And one piece of entertainment news that I wanted to discuss, because we haven't talked about it yet in the podcast, is Ryan Coogler's newest film, Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan. And I am very, very excited to see this movie because Michael B. Jordan will be doing, two parts for one actor. He will be playing twin brothers Elijah and Elias Smoke, along with Haley Steinfeld, Jack O'Connell, and it is a vampire film. But it turns out that the premiere for this movie is supposed to come out earlier this year. Is actually being pushed back to April. So I was a little... Actually, Alexa, you're the person who told me this, so just find this out. But I'm still excited for the film. I'm disappointed that it's going to be pushed back, but that's okay. We're still going to watch it. We're still going to go see it.
Yeah, I feel like honestly, it's possible that it being pushed back to April is honestly like a good sign because it does kind of show that they're like expecting good box office and maybe want this movie to like, kind of be one of those movies that helps jump off the summer season. I think similarly with Mickey 17 being pushed back more towards the spring, I'm really excited for both movies. I'm really interested to see how Sinners plays out. I think it's really difficult for an actor to play two roles.
Yeah. So
I'm really excited to see how that comes together. And the trailers, I think, have been like cut really well. They get you excited for the movie, and you can kind of like sense the tension and the horror elements of it without knowing too much. Like, because I still really don't know what it's about outside the fact that like Michael B. Jordan is playing twins and there's vampires.
Yes. And I love that because a lot of times with movie trailers, they do tend to leave very little to the imagination, which can be very disappointing. And I feel like that's difficult. You're trying to get people to come see your movie, but if they already know what's going to happen, then like, why would they even bother buying a ticket? So I feel like Ryan and Michael have done a really great job of marketing the movie. I'm very excited to see the film come out in April. And I feel like Ryan and Michael, they are two collaborators that really do stand out when it comes to like movie, like director and actor collaborators. And I feel like the vampire film is going to be very interesting to see because we've been waiting for Blade for like years and it has not come out, and it is apparently shelved indefinitely. So Ryan Coogler was just like, you know what? We're going to make our own Blade. We don't have to wait on them.
Exactly. And I also wonder how much of the original like OG storyline for Blade just became this movie. Like, you know what I mean? I really wonder if like this was like the rough draft that Coogler kind of had for Blade. It was like, actually, I mean, if you're not going to make it, I will.
Listen, if they're not going to do it, you may as well do it yourself. And it's probably going to be better in his hands anyways, because Ryan Coogler does have a great creative vision, and without any kind of like studio interference or any kind of like, a lot of times people like to come on set and they don't have the creative vision that you do, but they seem to want to, whisper in your ear. So the fact that Ryan Coogler will be at the helm of this film makes me very excited. And also, I love Black fantasy. I like Black mythical films. And, like, Black vampires are just, like, fun and sexy and scary. And the fact that Michael B. Jordan may be on our screen in the Dolby Cinema in a wife beater, possibly shirtless... I will purchase my ticket for that. I will be seated. I will be ready to see it.
No, I feel that too. Like, I will be seated. And honestly, I really support them in general because I think that it's important for like a Black actor, especially of Michael B. Jordan's caliber, to continuously work with a fellow Black filmmaker in the way that he has. And I like, in general, I'm going to encourage that.
Yeah. Because I feel like for a long time, a lot of Black actors, they have such great talent and great poise, but there aren't a lot of directors that are looking for Black talent, because like there are always a few that stand out, like Viola Davis and Denzel Washington, but a lot of times with directors, they just seem like hesitant to take on, Black talent, and to have like Black directors that want to have talent that reflect like who they are, their community, and tell their stories and be mindful of how the stories are told. I think that is so much better. And I'm glad that we're seeing that a lot more in this space. Like Ryan and Michael, to see Jordan and Daniel, like these pairs, these creative pairs in the Hollywood space, making the stories they want to make, making the stories that they want to see, not waiting for someone to say yes, not waiting for someone to give them the go ahead, but doing it like of their own volition. That's something that I'm glad that we're seeing a lot more in like the film space and also like the television space as well. And it sucks that it took so long to get here, but I'm glad we're here. I'm glad that we're seeing it. Yeah. And one other piece of news that I did want to dive into, because I found this was kind of blowing up on TikTok a little bit. But for those who don't know, there is a very popular Black fantasy film called Children of Blood and Bone. And the book was written by Tomi Adeyemi. It's a best-selling novel. And I believe it was like a couple years ago, the rights for the book to be made into a film was sold off. Mm-hmm. And just recently, there was an open casting call for the film. And the film has been casted. And the author of the book, she announced it on TikTok, showing off the star-studded cast. People including, Damson Idris, Viola Davis, Cynthia Erivo. And one casting decision that people were surprised to see was Amanda Stenberg, because the character that she was cast as, Amari, she is dark-skinned. And to be honest, for the book, Children of Blood and Bone, it is inspired by Nigerian mythology. So it was believed that most of the cast would be dark-skinned. And when the open casting call was first announced, there was a huge emphasis on Nigerian actors to be considered for the roles in the film. So a lot of people had a lot of thoughts about well-established talent being cast into the film adaptation, but namely the fact that Amanda Stenberg is being cast in this role of Amari, when it feels like this is not the right casting decision. And for me personally, I feel like it was very strange to see it happening because, for a long time in Hollywood, they have these roles that are meant for like people of the Black diaspora, but you do not cast people who are in the Black diaspora. You're casting Black British people and Black American people, and like actors are actors and that's fine. But if someone's ethnicity is part of their role, I feel like it would be best to cast someone that fits that. Not to say a Black American actor can't play like someone who's Jamaican, but like if someone who's Jamaican is just reliant on them having a good Jamaican accent, then it feels like that kind of like waters down the part, I guess, in my eyes. But I'm just curious to hear your thoughts, Alexa, or if you heard about this casting.
Yeah, I did hear about it, and I think it's interesting because it's like kind of how you mentioned, it's a multi-level situation, because it's like, well, there's an issue about the idea that most of the cast is not West African, right? Mm-hmm. Like in the sense that they are not Nigerian, they're not Ghanaian, they're not from Sierra Leone, they're diaspora Black people mm-hmm. from the UK and from America. And then there's like the extra issue about the fact that Amanda Stenberg is mixed race, right? Like that she's also mixed American and mixed race, and like the kind of the feeling that she is like in a role, like I think there's like a two-part conversation. A lot of people feel that like Disney is wrong to cast her and she's wrong to audition and accept the part. Mm-hmm. That like she should, as somebody who's at least tried to say that she's like aware of like her position as a mixed race person in conversations with monoracial Black people, but it's like it feels like this is a bit of a misstep. I think another issue I think some people feel is that like Amanda Stenberg has possibly overstayed her welcome in the YA space. Maybe. And that like she has kind of like, as once again like a mixed race Black person, dominated a lot of roles for Black actresses in young adult movies. And so I feel like there's like also this sort of maybe a little bit of fatigue in seeing her in these roles, because like she's now in her like late 20s. Yeah. So I think there's like a little bit of that as well. And like, I saw somebody outright tweet like, can any of these people pronounce the NG sound properly, or like the MG sound properly? And I think like this is a fair critique, like you said, for accents. But somebody brought up the idea that they should just like not do the accents. And honestly, I think that's fair. I honestly think that that's fair. Because like, even when you think about like mythology that is like case in point. A lot of mythology and fantasy movies that you see are based on like Greek mythology and or a lot of like Irish and Dutch, European mythology, but those people have British accents in a lot of those movies and stuff like that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Where it's a fantasy movie. There are dragons. There's, you know what I mean? Like, let's do whatever with the accents. Like, we don't really have to be super strict with it. But I like in general, I think it's an interesting question. I think at the end of the day, people are either going to go see the movie or they're not going to see the movie. Mm-hmm. However, I do think that if the movie isn't super successful, people who work at Disney are not going to blame the fact that they like cast Amanda Stenberg in the role. In their mind, they're going to be like, Black movies like this just don't profit well, like just don't do well, right? Because I think that that's like already the fear and the concern is that this movie won't do well with international audiences. And that they're going to have to really rely on American and specifically like Black American audiences to come out and see this movie. I don't know what the budget is, but I fear that it's going to be way too inflated. And then they're going to like say, well, see, we couldn't make these movies about Black people when it isn't, financially successful. But I don't know. Like I said, I think people are either going to go see the movie or they're not going to see the movie. People who like the book are either going to go, like support it or not support it. I don't think the Amanda Stenberg casting is a great idea. Honestly, I do not think it's a great idea. I feel like they should have definitely thought that out more. I don't think. And the other thing is too, and I could definitely be wrong about this, but I don't know if in casting her, the pros outweigh the cons in the sense that like she is a famous actress. People are familiar with her. But I don't know if she's not Zendaya in the sense that I don't know if the fame outweighs the backlash of her being mixed race. So like, I think that, maybe it's not too late, honestly. Maybe it's not too late for them to rethink that. Cause I do think that there are a lot of I'm sure there are other Nigerian actresses who would be very fit for the role, whether they be British or American as well. Like, you know what I mean? I just definitely think that they could have thought this through a little bit more. And when I say they, I also do include Amanda. Like, I think like she has to remember that like while also being mixed race, when you are like an actress who at least presents as Black, you do need to an extent stay in our good graces. Like this is just the reality of like being a Black entertainer is that piss off Black people if you want to. It's not gonna go well for you.
That's true.
Like I feel like that, you know what I mean? Like it's a reality of being a Black entertainer that like we don't like to say, but it is just the truth. There is a long list of Black entertainers who thought that they could
say whatever
or say whatever, do whatever, like kind of fly in the face.
Isaiah Washington.
Of like Trey Songz, of like Black audiences who supported them and thought that there would not be any sort of like backlash to that. And so it's just like I said, I wonder how this plays out. I think it would be very big of her to maybe relinquish the role and maybe take a smaller supporting role or, sort of cameo situation. But I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't somebody who was really that interested in the movie to begin with. But I definitely will be asking my friends who are big on sci-fi and fantasy movies and who were fans of the book if this is going to make them rethink going to see the movie.
Yeah, I do agree with you on the point of Amanda Stenberg kind of overstaying her welcome when it comes to playing like films that are based off YA books, because she is a lot older now. Like I think her, Yara, and Zendaya are very close in age. And like Zendaya is off doing more adult roles. She has Euphoria, she's done Challengers, and Amanda did Bodies, 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 and she was also in The Acolyte. So I don't feel like there is a shortage of roles for her. I feel like she could, if she wanted to, search for more roles that like fit something in a more mature level rather than continue doing YA like films that are from YA books. And I also remember when Black Panther was out, and she made this whole post on Instagram about how she didn't go and audition for it because she felt like the role should have gone to someone who was dark skinned, someone who fit
Mm-hmm.
the role of Black Panther. And at that point, people felt like that was very performative for her to say because she didn't have to say that. But in my mind, I was just like, I mean, maybe she's learning, maybe she's understanding because if you look on Netflix or any streaming service, or I would just use Netflix as an example because they have a whole barrage of like teen shows, but the black best friend is always someone who's light skinned or racially ambiguous. So
Yeah.
there is a shortage of monoracial black actresses that are out there. Of course, they're out there, but it's very clear that like
There's
they're
not a lot
not.
of roles for them and not a lot
Mhm,
of work for
that's
them.
true.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And so Children of Blood and Bone would have been a perfect opportunity to cast someone who is a young black actress. If they weren't going to cast Nigerian actors and actresses, then you can cast black American, black British actors if that's what you desire to do, because you're probably right. You know, relying on new talent for a movie of this size, it's possible that Disney did not feel that new talent would have brought people into the box office. So
Exactly.
relying on established talent, you know, brings people in, and, you know, American audiences will come and watch it if it doesn't perform well internationally, which I can understand from a business perspective. And there's also the possibility that the movie may not do well. And because Disney is moving towards this point, it seems like Disney is moving towards a point where they're becoming a lot more conservative in their media, you know, with like the success they've seen from Deadpool Wolverine and now the revival of Robert Downey Jr. as Mr. Doom, and them making a lot of decisions in terms of like removing LGBT characters from their films. It's very clear that they're moving to a point in the films that they create that they're not going to be so open about diversity. So Children of Blood and Bone is possible if this film does not do well. This is going to be like, well, I mean, maybe we don't need to make these movies for the next 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And that's like the fear I have,
mhm.
that, you know, it's like they're going to be set up.
Yeah.
Because but even like I said, with this idea of like maybe you wanted to have somebody who had some star power, or like, you know, some sort of, I just feel like, was Kiki Lane not available?
Mm.
You know, like she was in the old car, like, you know what I mean? Was she not?
Yes.
Could
Yeah.
y'all not have called? Was Lovey Simone from Sailor in the Spades not available? I haven't seen her into something in a minute. You know what I mean? I just feel like I don't believe, and that's the other thing too. I also wonder if we're going to begin to hear leaks of other young, dark-skinned Black actresses who also auditioned for this role. Because if I were their PR, if I was Kiki Lane or Lovey, like Simone's PR people, or another, like, or like a, I don't know the actress's name, but the girl who's on the Bridgerton show who plays the young lady Danbury.
Oh, I know what
Like,
actress you're talking about. I don't know her name
yeah, but
either.
it's like, you know what I mean? If I was
Yeah.
one of these young women's PR team, I would, and my actress had auditioned for that role and Amanda Sternberg got it, I'd
Mm.
be sick. I'd be like, we're leaking that shit to the rest today.
Somebody
We're
call Vanity
stirring the
Fair.
pot tonight. Like,
Yes.
nah.
Yeah, I can understand that frustration because I feel like Zendaya has talked about how, you know, there are times where she has gotten a role or been offered a role, and if she feels like a darker skinned actress can play it, then she'll step back. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember there was this movie that Yara Shahidi was in. It was based off a book. I don't remember the name, but
The Sun Is Also a Star or whatever.
yep, it's that one. Because the character she played is Jamaican. Like
Mm-hmm.
from Jamaica to
And
black
I've
parents.
seen, it's based on a true story, and it's
Uh-huh.
like the lady and her husband are both authors, and he's also written YA books, and I've seen pictures of them, and I was like, okay, I could see
Mm.
him for him, you know, I could see, but they, but it's like, once again, I think it's like also my issue, and one of the things that I want to like continue to hit home about the Amanda Sternberg thing and the Yara Shahidi thing is that it's not just that Amanda Sternberg and Yara Shahidi are light skinned, they are mixed race.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's more sometimes the issue than the fact that they are light skinned. It's the fact that they are light skinned and they are also mixed race. And it's like the recasting of like, or not even the recasting, the decision to cast a
Hmm.
mixed race person for like you said, a monoracial dark-skinned Jamaican woman feels even more insidious, you know what I mean, than the decision to just cast somebody who's like a light-skinned popular actress.
Yeah, because it's kind of like you can be black, but not too black.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yes. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the movie. I probably won't because I did read the book when it first came out, and I feel like I enjoyed it for the most part. But at the time, I think I was at a study group or something, and one of the people who were helping me study, she's Nigerian, and she saw me reading the book. She's like, "Why are you reading that?" And I was like, "Oh, I just like the book." She's like, "You know, there's no Z in the Yoruba language, right?" And I was like, and she just brought that out. You know when like you're talking about something in conversation and someone just says something, they blurt it out, and she's like, "That
Like
was
this, you could tell that this is something that's been on her heart heavy for a long time.
yes."
And that's the other thing too. That's what I'm saying. Like I've seen a lot, you know, in the wake of this news, a lot of people being much more comfortable airing their grievances with the book. And so, like I said, I'm wondering how this is gonna go. I'm wondering how it's gonna go.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's gonna go well for the movie. I feel like you know I want it to succeed and I want it to do well because of course I want black talent to like thrive and get a chance to like you know have it stay in the box office. But if it's done poorly and if it's done in a way where it feels like certain decisions are upsetting the people who would support it genuinely, then it's kind of like
Yeah.
I mean it's out of my hands at this point. You know, like I know you're coming from a good place, but the attention is like it's not enough in the decisions that are being made. So. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens when the movie does come out.